Tease. I
Ooh,
love this subject, as I wrote to you yesterday. In fact, I said love, 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 love this subject.
yes.
Shoddy builders, know your rights. Hattie Suvari of Let's Get Legally Speaking. Off you go.
Right. Well, okay. I don't know if you're aware, but 50% of people who have had domestic building works carried out in their homes have ended up having a bad experience with their builder. I can see you nodding away at Russ. And that's reported by the Federation of Master Builders, also known as the FMB. If anybody wants to know, well, where does that statistic come from? It's quite a big number, 50%. I have experienced bad building work. I don't know if you have, Neil. But Russ is nodding away there. So, I mean, it's no real secret that the UK has been plagued by cowboy builders. It's a term that we all are familiar with, cowboy builders.
Yeah.
And builders' disputes, they really do quickly become one of the most stressful issues that we can suffer in our lifetime because it's to do with our castle. It affects our home. Oh, good. Liz, I've got some great tips for you. She's just said I'm about to do some renovations. So disputes usually involve vast sums of money. And, vast sums of money could be your £500. It could be your £5,000. It could be even more money.
Yep.
And tensions just can rise and become very unhealthy very quickly between you and your builders, resentment on unfinished or bad work. So what usually can go wrong, what has gone wrong, poor work, including bad installation, dangerous work. I know of a site where a child that lives in the home fell off and died off the scaffolding that the builders put up to do the loft. Very serious. It happened in my area. The builders under-delivering on what they promised or even failing to deliver at all, not delivering what was agreed, the work taking too long, and one of the most common. I mean, I can understand if it takes a bit longer because you've had unexpected issues come up when you've knocked down a wall or you've dug some foundations or something like that. But one of the most loathed issues that people have is hidden charges or overcharging.
Yes.
Not giving people the time to budget. So what to look out for before you agree for your work to begin? Not many people do this, and I'm guilty of this with one of the builders that I had in my home many years ago. Stop and look at who you are contracting with. Okay, it takes 2 minutes to go onto Companies House and to look up the building company's name, because there's lots of companies that have this great flashy big vans or cars with all their logos all over it, but actually that's not the company you're doing business with because they're just trading as another name. You can go onto Google the company to see if there's any reviews or if anybody has said anything detrimental, but you've got to look at who am I actually doing business by. Do you want to read that out?
Kevin Byrne started Checker Trade. I love Checker Trade in Chelsea when his mother got ripped off by a cowboy builder. He took it so far, and then my former boss and friend, this is from Ramsey, by the way, bought it and moved it to Portsmouth and made it the biggest trusted trader site in the UK. I would hire a trader. I think it should be I wouldn't hire a trader without checking out their reviews and feedback. Good idea. Checker Trade.
Can I just say something on that, Ramsey? The one builder I had a dispute with was from Checker Trade. Just to put it out there. I'm sure there's lots of builders on Checker Trade that are great.
Fell at the first fence.
Yeah, so check out who you're contracting with. Now, this is really...
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes, of course.
You go to Companies House and you look up Neil Long Limited.
Company name.
Neil Long arrives in a lovely car, Land Rover, and it's got all the logos. You think, I'm going to go with Neil Long Builders Limited. It looks great. Mm-hmm. I go onto Companies House and what? What am I looking for?
The name of the company that they say they are. So if you haven't obtained a quote from them yet, because when they give you a quote, make sure you get a physical quote. It doesn't matter if they write it on an A4 bit of paper and they say, this is the company name, this is our contact details. Look at who you're actually doing business with, because that person, unless they're a sole trader, which means they're trading as Neil Long or Hattie Savari, and co and whatever, they will belong to a company. So look up their company and look up, there's been builders still go around. I've seen it where their companies are dissolved. It doesn't even exist. Or they've set up 5 different limited companies in the last 2 years.
Oh, hello.
But as the best bit about this slot on the show, Hattie, is that you just by doing a very simple bit of due diligence, we could save ourselves a world of pain. But most people don't know this simple stuff, which is why this slot is so important. And
yeah, here.
Simple. Thank you.
Here,
guys.
Bit of due diligence needed.
It's really not difficult to navigate around Companies House. You literally put the company name. If you've been given a name by the builder and they say, "Oh no, that's you can't find it," say to them, "What is your company name or registration number?" Right. Okay, because unless they're trading as just them, me, myself, and I'm a sole trader. They have a company. Look at who that is with. Do some due diligence on Google. Look at what comes up. You must have a contract drawn up of the work that you're going to have done. Don't be afraid by that term, contract drawn up. It's not difficult. You can type it up or write it out on a sheet of paper to say the key things it must include is both you and your builder need to sign and date it, that you're in agreement. When will the work begin? How much? So the date it's going to begin. Or the week it's going to begin. Because some builders say, we'll be a long week commencing.
What century is it going to be finished?
Well, hold on. I'm coming to that. That's the last point. Very quick 5 points. How much will it cost, right? What is it you've agreed to pay for the work that's going to be carried out? What is that work going to be? And it really, the more you break it down, the less room you leave for any disputes, because you can say, but that's what we agreed. Right? It doesn't matter whether it's, and you're going to cut the grass and lay me a new lawn because you would have damaged the lawn by replacing that window or door or building that extension. And what stages will you pay? That's something that a lot of people don't think about when they agree the price. And all of a sudden, say, for example, they've agreed £10,000 for a job to be done, a small extension or whatever it is. The builder comes and says, so that'll be £5,000 today for us to start, please. And they'll say, well, hold on, you haven't done your work yet. Agree how much it is going to cost, along with when and at what stages you're going to pay. Because that's one of the biggest arguments that people have with builders, by saying, well, I'm not going to pay you 60% up front before you've actually done 60% of the work.
What happens, Hattie, because, and forgive me, I don't really like generalizations, which is itself a generalization, but they can be quite intimidating.
Yes.
And what happens if you've got everything ready and they say, well, that'll be 50% up front, mate. And you go, well, no. And you take the Hattie Suvari route and they go, well, sod off. And they go, or they refuse, and you're
Shall I tell you what happens, Russ?
Yeah, go on.
You got away lightly.
Okie doke.
Any builder that does not want to sign a document that outlines exactly what you are both in agreement with is not in it for your benefit. And you rather say to them, off you go, I'm not booking you in for the job. And that's why writing down what you've agreed and these key points to make it a contract in this form is so important. Always hold a percentage back, around 10%, I say sensible, until snagging is completed. So if all of these are agreed up front, Russ, because you've written it out, your builder's looked at it, he might say, look, I do need 15% at this stage rather than 10. And you might negotiate, but ultimately you'll write it all down and you'll both sign it. You have got something solid for both of you to refer to. Right?
And that does it? Just a A4 paper in handwriting, signed by both parties. That counts as a legally binding contract.
Of course it does. That's your agreement. Wow. You've got to have a date on it. You've got to agree these fundamental points on it, which should come with agreeing any building work. Anything above £1,000. I mean, even up to £1,000 is a lot of money. Anything above £1,000, it's not difficult to type something out on Word or write something out and get
it out. People can find a biro somewhere. This is from Ramsey. If you had a dispute with a checker trade trader, they will guarantee their work for 12 months. Ooh. And this is great. This is why I love this show. If you need me to refer to their head of operations after the show, I'd be happy to try and help you. Thanks,
let me tell you what happened. We had the dispute. I quickly told the guy where he stood legally, and he quickly rectified it. But it was horrible. I was 9.5 months pregnant at the time, standing at the bottom of my stairs like a barrel because I literally put on 5 stone from being pregnated. And I was arguing. He was shouting and screaming at me.
Yeah.
I didn't raise my voice. I didn't use any derogatory language. And he eventually put it right. I don't know whether he Googled me or something. He might have done that. So then we go on to the last changes. The last point, for your contract. Make a point that any changes to what you're going to write down and agree have to be in writing. Even if it's a simple email or text message to each other saying, okay, for example, I've agreed that I'm going to use this material, but actually I'm going to use Y material. And we're agreeing that that's okay. Quick text message, quick email, attach it to the agreement. And the last point to have on any agreement, when the work will finish.
Can I ask 2 questions? Because
Absolutely.
number one, and I bet people will start screaming at their laptops, PCs and radios now. In the middle of a job, your house looks like, a demolition site.
Yes, I've had that.
Bugger off. They just disappear. We'll be back. Yeah, we're back on Thursday. What do you mean? We've got another job. Well, hang on.
It's usually about 3 p.m. builders tend to knock off of work, and about 12 p.m. on a Friday.
And you don't see them for several days because suddenly, another job's come in. What are your rights? What do you do?
Well, this is why, if you have agreed what work they're going to do and for how much and when it's going to finish, if they run over us, then you have to say, what will happen if you run over? What will happen? I'll take... If there's like, no, listen, I'm going to be finished by the 3rd week of April. And you say, why don't we have the 2nd week of May as the backstop date to give you more time? But if you run over, then I want a discount on the work that you've done to ensure that you will stick to your word. It is an option. I would recommend it because any builder that says, no, I promise you, I'll be finished by the 3rd week of April. Why, if they actually do mean what they're saying, will they have any issue with giving you a discount of some sort based on a percentage of how late they're going to be if they were to finish a month later?
I do. Sorry, I'll actually take the question first, Russ. It'd be a nice.
No, carry on, Neil. Carry on.
I have a friend who's a builder. He's on Checkatrade, and he's a very, very good one. Leonard Construction. I can name him on here. My friend Joe. He's also a DJ, and he's great. I've seen the work he's done on his own house, and it's absolutely beautiful, and other people's. And he says, because there was that, this is just for the sake of balance, because again, I agree with absolutely every word and think this is sage advice, but that program, Cowboy Builders, he said there should be a program, and he was only half joking, called Cowboy Customers, because customers,
but this is why the agreement will protect the builder as well, Neil, because if the customer says...
in my head, as I said it, so good. Back to you, Hattie.
Yeah, this is why everybody's protected, because you're saying this is what we're going to do. This is how you're going to pay. This is when we're going to finish. These are the materials we're going to use. People tend to forget, be it a customer or a builder. Sometimes people forget. But when you're reminded by what you've agreed to, anything you want to add to that agreement is an extra. And the Cowboy customers can be fished out as well. Now, this is another really, really important point, and I didn't do this with any of the building work I've had carried out in my home over the last 8 years. Ask the builder for a copy of their insurance policy. Because if they carry out any accidental damage or they go bust or something happens where something really goes wrong, who are you going to claim from if they've dissolved or liquidated or shut shop or run away? Really important. And I know it might not be the most comfortable because, look, I have dealt with quite a few builders in my lifetime. And let me tell you, they're lovely people. But the moment if you have a disagreement, and I've only had one disagreement with one builder, it turns really ugly really quickly. So these things are not because you're trying to snoop into their business, but you just want to know, should anything go wrong, there is an insurance policy there, which is almost a backup to them.
What happens what happens if it becomes, this is slightly esoteric, but it becomes a matter of taste. Let's say you're having your lounge, I don't know, pick anything you like. You're having your lounge done or something, and you look at it and you think it's not really
Working.
what it doesn't look right, doesn't feel right. It's
Mhm.
something, and they go, "Well, that's what you wanted," and you go, "Well,
Well,
not
that's
really what." Where does
then
that stand?
rewrite the agreement, and that would protect the builder. To be honest with you, that would come down to
Yeah,
the builder.
But
absolutely. If you change your mind about something, that's down to you. That's your stuff. So I would say, okay, I'm now going to ask you to do this, or quote me for changing it to that. Always get a quote. Never assume that something you're asking to do is going to be affordable or is going to be a price that you're going to be comfortable with. Always say, please quote me. Consider that. If you're happy, write it out on your piece of paper or additional to that email, text, something. Now, one of the accreditations that not many people know about, and I certainly didn't know about this, is called Trustmark. Trustmark. And apparently it's one of the best because it's the only non-profit government endorsed quality schemes that support and hold the contractor to what is known as the Code of Conduct and Customer Charter, which basically means that using a Trustmark contractor benefits you with the most robust protection you can have in the housing sector. So it's worth checking exactly that. I think it's a capital M. So it's Trustmark. Yeah,
Okay.
just for correctness. It is probably a good thing. Now, what do our laws state? Which laws cover you? What are your rights? Astonishingly, I still can't believe when I say this, because I've said it so many times over the years, the building trade is not regulated.
What?
Which is, it's not regulated. You don't need a regulation to become a builder. Yes, the accreditations are optional. Checker trade is optional if you want to be part of a checker. So, I mean, it does astonish me that the building trade is not regulated, and a contractor isn't legally required to have any qualifications or any licenses.
So anyone could just put a brass plate up and say they're a builder and start doing
Yes,
it.
that's why we are the land of cowboy builders, and I'm sure there's other countries that suffer from this nonsense, but that's why we have this issue. However, if you proceed with some building work without a written document, as the way I've said would be a great way to do things, technically you made a contract and you are still governed by our laws for the work that they've done to be done with reasonable care and skill. And for anyone that's interested, you're protected under the Consumer Rights Act 2015, which states reasonable care and skill must be used while working. Specifically, and I know this is the boring bit, but I just want to put it out there, Section 23 of this Act also includes a consumer's rights to insist on repair or replacement of faulty goods, the cost of which must be borne by the trader. This includes the trader bearing any costs involved in the removal of an installed item and reinstallation of a replacement. So building work comes under that. Protecting yourself, make sure you get a quote, written quote. Make sure you get an invoice and a receipt detailing what you have paid. Okay, because that's your insurance policy. Should you have had a lovely relationship with your builder, they've finished and they've gone on, you said bye-bye, and then all of a sudden the roof caves in, or God forbid something happens with the work that they've done. Don't be tempted, and honestly, I had a case last year where this happened. Don't be tempted to pay cash for a no invoice option. Don't do it. I had somebody had a whole loft conversion done, tens of thousands of pounds. They paid cash because the builder said, well, I'll give you a little discount, a big discount, if you don't.
No VAT. Don't need to pay the VAT.
And what happened? A big gouging hole appeared in their loft conversion, ruined everything, ruined the staircase as well as the whole room because it flooded due to the rains and everything we had. And they haven't got anywhere to claim from. They can't even claim from their home insurance because they agreed to do. They can't prove they paid anyone for it.
Oh my God!
They don't have anyone to go after. The home insurance.
So if they went after Fred, making up a name here. So Fred Smith Limited, or Fred Smith Builders, may not be limited, comes in, says, "Tell you what, love, cash.
Yeah.
no VAT, and you go, oh yeah, save myself some money.
Silly idea to
The
go
thing
down.
collapses.
Yeah.
You can't go after Fred Smith Limited because they'll say what cash.
Well, what I did in this case is I looked up the company they said they paid. He had about 9 limited companies, all of which were dissolved a very long time ago. Who are you going to go after?
Ooh.
I mentioned earlier, and it puzzled me then, so good time to clarify. Why do these people set up all these limited companies? What's the purpose of that?
Because what they do is they either don't pay the VAT they owe as a business, so they take the VAT from you, they build up all this money, and then they keep fobbing the VAT man off, and eventually they don't pay it and they collapse the business. Plus, they've got a ton of customers trying to sue them, so liquidating the business means there's no business for them to sue.
Right.
Does that make sense, Neil?
Yeah, completely. Yeah,
Right.
you can't find them. They're kind of gone.
So even if you're going to pay by cash, always get an invoice. Consider paying for your project. And I know this sounds a bit strange, but on a credit card. Okay? Because under Section 75 of the Consumer Credit Act, your bank has to look into compensating you for loss if a good or service is not delivered after you paid for anything between £100 and up to 30 grand.
Wow.
So your bank will get involved. You can bring your bank into it and say, I had building work done. The builders have not, has done a shoddy job of this. I want my money back. Here's all the evidence. They have to, and they will get involved.
And that's credit or debit card?
Credit card, not debit card.
Okay.
Credit card.
I've seen this as well. It's a great. Could you put that last comment back?
There you
on?
go.
I love this. I've seen this around. It's great. Best business card I've seen by a builder mate of mine. Family came here from Delhi. You've tried the Cowboys, now try the Indians.
I've seen that. That is really good.
I think that's absolutely adorable.
I love it.
Called Hump It, and their tagline is "We'll hump anything."
Honestly, sometimes I do wonder where we're going, but there you are.
Oh my!
What's Ramsey saying?
Ramsey's saying, good show, some useful tips as usual from Hattie.
Thank you.
And then there's two rather interesting facts which you can read on your screen. Hattie, that's been so. Could you just? Sorry, Neil, go on.
Oh,
no, can't hear you.
There was a building company. It's just one last thing. It was one of my favourite ones. It was called Rip Off and Scarpa, and the tagline was "the company that does not live up to its name," which I thought was good as well. Back to you.
Oh, that's very clever, Hattie. Just as we wind up, could you possibly go through the key points that you should have in a contract before building commences?
Of course I
can.
So
great.
So the first thing is list out what work is going to be done and be very, very detailed and specific. Don't say the room's going to be painted in, the dining room is going to be painted in white with Dulux gold paint, whatever it is. And put down what materials are included, because that's another argument people have. The builder will say, well, I didn't include the materials in that. So what materials are going to be included? Yes, and they get stung. This is where the price starts changing. What work's going to be done? Specifically, what materials are going to be included? When the work will begin? How much it will cost? And at what stages you will pay? So at what stage of progress will you pay and what amounts? Consider saying, can we agree that I hold back a 10% or 5% until it's all finished and the snagging is done?
And the what is
snagging.
What is that?
So snagging,
little bits of repair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Little bits.
So there might be little
touches. Little touches here and there.
Exactly. Make a point in the contract that any changes have to be in writing and agreed by both of you. And that can be, again, another written document, a text message that's printed off and attached to the back of it, or an email. And very importantly, when the work will finish. God forbid you end up in court because it was 6 months late. That's the point that you're going to argue to get compensation on, the fact that it was not finished when it was agreed.
And you have to hang tough, which is much easier said than done, because they'll say, right, well, we'll see you in court. And you're left with a lounge that looks like a bomb site. And, you kind of panic and you think, well, I've just got to get it done because I can't live like this. And then you're down in the hole.
To resolve just very quickly in 30 seconds, if you have issues or are having issues or have had issues, try to talk to the builder to outline these either in person, or if that's broken down, write to them. Do try to say, look, this is the problem. Make a formal complaint. suggest a private mediation, which is where an independent person will come in between the both of you and try to mediate to come to a resolution. Failing the above, seek legal advice and ask that in the first instance, you outline that if we can't resolve it, I'm going to have to issue court proceedings.
Hattie Suvari, you are a freaking marvel and a legend. And the way that you, no, the way you communicate really complex stuff in such a digestible, it's fantastic. Really is. Thank you so much, Hattie.
Thank
Neil,
you, guys.
enjoy lovely Hailing Island. You'll probably be surfing a little bit. I'm kidding. Oh, what?
You'll both have to come down. We'll have a party.
I would love to come down. I really would. You know, I keep saying I would. We'll be back. I'll be back with Phil Dave on Friday with, of course, the screen queen herself, Chantal Rickards. Hattie, bless you again. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Stay safe. Bye, gang.
Bye.